Welcome to Football with Cheese. All right, the playoffs are set. We have 4 teams left in the college football playoff. So much going on. I'm going to make a lot of videos this week. I got 2 coming today, not just the Raheem Morris firing. I got one for Kevin Stefanski, the Browns, as well. So make sure, if you're new, subscribe, hit the bell for notification so you never miss one of my videos. I will probably do more of a deep dive, what went wrong on the Atlanta Falcons throughout the season. But this video is just specifically about Raheem Morris and also GM Terry Fontenot and why they were fired and what's the plan going forward. First, let's start with Morris. He has a defensive backs coach background. He actually was John Gruden's defensive backs coach for the Buccaneers when Gruden was the head coach there. And then Monty Kiffin was the defensive coordinator. He leaves to go join his son, Lane Kiffin, in college. And so Raheem Morris gets the defensive coordinator gig. And then the month later, they decide to fire John Gruden. And they're like, oh, we need a head coach. Hey, Raheem Morris, will you be our head coach? So he coached the Buccaneers. Eventually, he's Dan Quinn's defensive coordinator in Atlanta for the Falcons. And became the Falcons head coach on an interim basis when they fired Dan Quinn. So technically, Raheem Morris has been the head coach of the Falcons twice. But they did not make him head coach. They decided to go with Arthur Smith instead, probably wanting an offensive coach. That was the trend for years. I think it's about to change as defenses are getting better, and I think the best candidates are defensive coaches out there. But I do think Atlanta's going to hire an offensive-minded coach, probably the Titans as well, but we'll get into that later in the video. But Raheem Morris goes to the Rams, does a great job. He's always been a good defensive coordinator. He's always been a good defensive backs coach. There's no doubt about it. And I think the team played really hard for him. They didn't give up. I think he's a leader. But here is what Arthur Blank is thinking, the owner of the Falcons. I think he wants an offensive-minded head coach to get the most out of Michael Penix Jr. That's the main reason here. He was not happy with the offense. Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator, was probably going to be fired no matter what. He has that Sean McVay background, well, really Kyle Shanahan background. You know, the Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota runs, Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, Liam Cohen in Jacksonville. So basically the offense underachieved, especially because you have one of the most dynamic players in the NFL in Bijan Robinson at running back. You have Drake London at receiver. It's a very good run-blocking offensive line. But the bottom line is the Falcons should have won this division, even with Michael Penix Jr. not playing great, getting hurt, because 8-9 won the division. They tied for first, but lose the tiebreak. They should have gone 9-8. And one more point I want to make is they lost to the New York Jets. That loss is why Raheem Morris was fired. Because if they win that game, they win the division, and they absolutely should have won the game. And the Jets picked first in the draft. That was huge for both franchises. The Jets wanted the first pick, so they can take the quarterback they want. But now the Raiders have the first pick. And if the Falcons win that game, they win the division. They're about to host the Rams in a playoff game, a team they just beat. And Raheem Morris probably keeps his job, and maybe Terry Fontenot as well. Let's talk about Terry Fontenot. Scouting background. He was the director of pro scouting for the Saints for many years. And really when he left, they started drafting horribly. But I think he did a pretty good job as the GM. If you just look at his drafts, there were hits and misses, but Kyle Pitts, tight end. Okay, he's been a disappointment, but every single GM would have made that pick 4th overall. Every single one. He was one of the most gifted tight ends ever to come out of the draft. I think drafting Desmond Ridder in the 3rd round, just making him the quarterback for a few years, was pretty bad. It's pretty much got Arthur Smith fired. You can't win with Desmond Ridder. Fontenot had the balls to draft Bijan Robinson 8th overall. Great pick. A lot of teams are like, you can't take a running back that high. He did anyway. And he's one of the best playmakers in the NFL. Where his biggest mistake may have been in the 2024 draft. First of all, he signs Kirk Cousins 4 years, $180 million. What were you thinking? One playoff win in his career. And then doubles down and drafts Michael Penix Jr. 8th overall in the draft. Do one or the other. And then his excuse was, oh, we're doing it the Packer way. This is not the Green Bay Packer way. If you didn't know what the Packer way is, you draft a quarterback before you need it. Let him sit for 2-3 years, play behind a Hall of Famer, and when that player either retires or you're ready to move on, you trade him, Both, ironically, were traded to the Jets, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Interesting. And neither one had success because it's the Jets. But you have a Hall of Fame quarterback, you draft and develop. And you draft a quarterback 2 or 3 years before you need it. So you have a replacement there in the building. They signed Kirk Cousins, and he's not Brett Favre. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not a Hall of Famer. He didn't win a Super Bowl. So that's not the Packer way at all. But that's the excuse he used. That is why they're in this situation. And let's talk about Michael Penix Jr. He played well at the end of his rookie year. Kirk Cousins was a starter for most of the year last season, and he played well. And so you're thinking, okay, we hit on the quarterback. Let's just go for it. We have to get pass rush. That's our biggest issue, is pass rush. So he drafts Jalen Walker 15th overall, then moves back up into the first round to take James Pierce. I really like both players. I think both can be stars in this league, especially Pierce. He had a really good rookie season. The problem is you don't have a first-round pick this year because you had to give it up to get Pierce. And it fixed the pass rush. It made the defense better. The defensive line is so athletic. They've used a lot of draft capital the last 2 years on that defensive line. Great. Problem is Michael Penix Jr. did not look good before he got hurt. And he's been hurt a lot, going back to his college days, and that's a problem. But he didn't look great before he got hurt. So they went all in thinking, we've solved quarterback, we just got to fix pass rush. But the offense wasn't as good. Defense was better, offense wasn't as good. I think that's why Terry Fontenot was fired, because of that move. And they're stuck with this huge contract with Kirk Cousins. They could have used all that cap room that Kirk Cousins is taking up to improve the roster, to bring in some veterans. So, to me, that is why Terry Fontenot was fired. Last thing, I do think they're going to go after an offensive-minded head coach. I think if they hire Matt Nagy, it'd be a huge mistake. He did a terrible job in Chicago with Mitch Trubisky. But people like Ian Rappaport and all the insiders are pushing, oh, he's such a great offensive coach. He deserves another chance. No, he was terrible in Chicago. You had a really talented quarterback that did not develop at all. Looked pretty good for the Bills yesterday, just saying. He didn't develop him at all. And you need someone to develop Michael Penix Jr. Matt Nagy would be a terrible hire. And let's be honest, he didn't call plays in Kansas City. Andy Reid does. So who should they hire? There's a coordinator that needs to be talked about a lot more. I think he's been brought up a few times, but Clint Kubiak, Gary Kubiak's son, he's offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks. That offense has been amazing this year. And I think he would be a really good candidate. So that's who I think the Falcons should get. So let me know in the comments. Do you like the firing of Fontenot and Morris? Do you think they should have kept him? And who is your candidate, Falcons fans? Lights Out Podcast, me and Mike. We do it every Tuesday night, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. We're going to talk about all this coaching. We're going to do our awards for the NFL season, and we're also going to preview the games this weekend, do some predictions. Hopefully our predictions get better. We did a little bit better with the college this past week than the first week. If you enjoyed this, give me that thumbs up. Really helps out the channel. Share this with anyone who loves football as we continue to grow football with cheese. Make sure you check this out if you have not, and I'll see you in the next video.